Did you see the backlash from the comedian festival? Yeah, I saw this. Bill Burr going there was crazy disappointing, man. I'm not like a huge Bill Burr stan. He said some cool stuff, I guess, but like all of these guys going there and just yucking it up at the you know, as guests of the Saudi royals. Insane. Why is that such a big deal? Because they're evil and it's a slave state. They were literally just like given. Saudi Arabia has a ton of money to throw around. Remember our monetary policy talk? They have a huge sovereign wealth fund, like the biggest. Saudi Arabia, from all the oil they sell, because they sell it as part of like Saudi Aramco, a state-owned company. They're not taxing to get that money, they're selling, so it goes to a bank account. A very, very big one. Isn't Norway's larger? I thought Saudi Arabia's was larger. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's very, very big. The check must have been huge. Was it Tim Dillon who said that, like, to people like who were like booing him basically for going over there, he was like, listen up, dudes, they paid me $300,000 to go there. Who cares about the slavery? They paid me enough to shut up about it. But then he got canceled from the lineup anyway because he mentioned the slavery. $300,000, man. What a embarrassment. And the shit Bill Burr said too, where he was like, you would think that they were gonna scream to have your head chopped off, and they didn't. They were actually really nice. It reminds me of it reminds me of when those like hack comedians talk about how Trump is really, really funny, as though that excuses all the shit that he's done. When he flew into Saudi Arabia, Burr's nervousness crept back, but he was struck by the amount of local Western influence. Wow, really? That surprises you? Western influence in Saudi Arabia? Jesus Christ. You think everyone's going to be screaming death to America, and they're going to have like machetes and want to chop my head off, right? Hold on. Is Bill Burr like an actual racist? Why the would people in Saudi Arabia be saying death to America? Why the would they do that? What are you talking about? Bill said, because this is what I've been fed about that part of the world. No, that's your fault, buddy. You're an adult. What do you mean? You never looked up? What? That's what you've been fed? You're not a baby at the baby carriage being given airplanes full of applesauce. You can just look up information. I thought this place was going to be really tense, and I'm thinking like, is that a Starbucks next to a Pizza Hut, next to a Burger King, next to a McDonald's? They got a Chili's over here? Oh my God, he doesn't know anything about Saudi Arabia. Jesus Christ, man. Advertising? Well, that's what they're being brought over there for. They're being brought over to like whitewash and advertise for the Saudi regime. These evil slaver motherfuckers. They have so much money to throw around. They do this with sports. They do it with esports. There have been a couple of big esports tournaments. They recently bought EA Games, by the way. Okay, so get ready to play a bunch of FIFA matches hosted in like Mecca, you know, with the cube cleared out or whatever. See the clock tower in the background. They love doing this shit. They use their money to like further evil in other countries. Remember that leaked Saudi Aramco briefing that made the public rounds that no one paid attention to, where they were like, let's use our money to influence elections in African countries to make sure that pro-green energy people lose. Therefore, they remain dependent on oil, parentheses, us, for the end of until the end of time. You remember that? They do it to us, too. It's not like Saudi money isn't everywhere in U.S. politics. The West wouldn't have ever done that in the past. Yeah, we did it, and they do it. Riyadh! This is Tim Dillon, right? You can really tell he's a comedian from the bits.
Baby, we're in Saudi Arabia. Come on. Get your tickets now. October 8th, the day after October 7th. Just funny how it all works. Not something that I had planned. I think it's very exciting that we're all going to Riyadh. People are very upset about it. They're angry that comedians are going to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. They're very angry. They don't believe in anything. Get over it.
Damn, man. Is this the bar for being a comedian these days? Holy shit. I feel like I could rock a stand-up crowd. If we're looking at a crowd of people who would laugh for this, I feel like I could get a standing ovation.
The House of Saud is paying us hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of us millions, not me, but they're paying millions of dollars to comedians. Get over it.
Nice. Joe Rogan's ruined professional comedy. It is probably an issue that the two most internet famous comedians, Theo Von and Joe Rogan, are both really not funny. Like, they don't even attempt to be funny basically at all. Did you guys see that post, or there were people on Reddit saying that Theo Von bombed for his Netflix special? Like, he was doing a comedy special for Netflix, and apparently it was like egregiously unfunny, and people were like leaving, and just like it was really embarrassing and hard to watch and stuff. And he was getting fed lines from off stage.
Taking the money. How about that? Sorry. Oh, you weren't invited? Oh, you got nothing going on? Boo-hoo-hoo for you. I would never do it. You weren't offered. No one invited you. There's people that I respect that turned it down, but a lot of people are doing it, like a lot, like almost everyone. They bought comedy. So what? Well, they have slaves, then they kill Hey. Get over it. So what? They have slaves. I imagine the slaves in those countries are good at what they do. Everyone that works at all the hotels, they take their passports. They're not allowed to leave. They're slaves. Hey, is the hotel nice? I'm not here to be a spoil sport. I'm not here to ruin the good time that everyone's having. Do I have...
Anyway, the punchline is that he was so loud and obnoxious and abrasive about how much of a moral impasse he was comfortable making that they ended up canceling his tickets anyway. This is borderline self-parody? Yeah. Remember when people thought stand-up comedians were all like, you know, truth tellers who were on the cutting edge of free speech advocacy, and then it turns out literally every single one of them was a right-wing hack, and the only thing they cared about was, you know, continuing to fill out crowds as they aged, and the best way to do that would be to get an audience that didn't care whether or not they were funny, which means conservatives. Bill Maher is one. I mean, apparently to an extent Bill Burr is as well, which is again super disappointing. It was a great experience, that part of the world, be a part of the first comedy festival over there in Saudi Arabia. The royals loved the show. I had to stop a couple of times during the show and say, I'll be honest with you guys, I cannot believe any of you have any idea who I am. Do you genuinely not know what Saudi Arabia is? Do you think you're in Afghanistan? Like, a genuine question. Do you not know? Bill Burr launches hard defense of Saudi Arabian Comedy Festival. They must have paid him quite a bit.
Comedian Bill Burr taking to his podcast to defend his performance at a Saudi Arabian comedy festival in the Middle East last week.
He's even doing like the best hide the pain Harold face he can, you know?
In the Middle East last week.
Just like us. So like you can talk about anything, you know, other than a couple things, which was basically, you know, religion, don't make fun of the royals. Everyone was happy. The people that were doing the festival would...
Oh yeah, I'm just like a stand-up comedian, you know, truth teller and so on. There were a couple of rules. Hard lines. You can't talk about religion and you can't insult the authoritarian leaders. Everyone was happy at the comedy show that they paid to be at.
We're thrilled. It was a mind-blowing experience. Definitely top 3 experiences I've ever had. And it was great to experience that part of the world and to be a part of the first comedy festival over there in Saudi Arabia. I think it's going to lead to a lot of positive things.
He's acting like this is a bold, innovative step on behalf of an impoverished country to open themselves up to the world market, as though Saudi Arabia isn't extremely influential internationally. Like it's like, oh my God, the first Starbucks in Afghanistan, you know, the incredible. Like this must signal an opening market that'll lead to prosperity in the future. What are you talking about, man?
Fox News contributor Kat Tim joins me now. Kat, you must really love me.
I do.
Good morning.
I couldn't sleep, but here I am.
Didn't you not believe in boycotts? That's not a boycott. This is not a boycott to not show up at the Saudi royal hosted event. You're not a consumer there. You're the guy. Why are you all? You're always trying to jump down my throat for this. By the way, I don't think boycotts are bad. I just think the discourse they promote, the infighting they facilitate, is usually not worth the hassle, which I'm proven right by every time one of you dipshits tries to jab me for that position. Because I'm like, yeah, it does turn you all into a bunch of useless scolds. I was correct.
Hopefully this goes okay.
Well, thank you for doing this.
Yes,
I know it is a different time slot for you, but we appreciate having you on. Should he have to defend himself for something like this?
Well, the thing is that
This is like when the world condemned Qatar World Cup, but no one gave a shit about the USA hosting it. No, there's a difference. America is not using the World Cup to whitewash its reputation. I know that may sound crazy, but what the Gulf states do is very different. America does a lot of bad things, okay? A lot of bad things. But we have a complex like network of agencies and NGOs. We have a civil society internally. There's a lot going on here. We have an internal culture, okay? What Saudi Arabia and Qatar and those other countries do is literally the government will sit around saying, we have a bunch of oil money. How can we spend that to advance our interests? And then they will use that money to buy events and organizations and people, as they just did with this comedy festival, or get international attention. No, that's you being an American and being exceptionalist for your own country. No. You're misunderstanding. Listen, okay? Listen. My brother and or sister and or non-binary friend in Christ, okay? I agree. America, very bad. America, very, very bad. There is still a difference between the government getting together and spending a sovereign wealth fund on whitewashing and America, one of the cultural centers of the world, hosting the World Cup. Now, you could argue that allowing America to host the World Cup still to an extent bolsters our reputation. I agree completely. But there is a difference between it being done specifically for that purpose and it being done incidentally. Or in other words, the only reason the World Cup would ever be hosted by Qatar is because of corruption from... It is FIFA. I thought that was a video game series. Look at me being corrected. It's corruption. It's like the only reason the World Cup would ever be hosted in Qatar is because Qatar and FIFA shook hands and money exchanged hands. There are tons of reasons to host it in America. We're America, you know? Or in a bunch of countries. But the Gulf state countries are unique in that they don't really have internal cultures or civil societies. They're so overwhelmingly controlled by money. Like, this is why you say they're slave states, right? Like, it's like UAE, you know, Dubai. Significant portion of the population of that country are just slave workers. For the most part, the country is just like a city state that exists to attract foreign investment and like tourism. It's not like a real country, you know? It doesn't exist in the same way that other countries do. Same with Qatar. Same to an extent with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is more like an actual country than the UAE and Qatar by a decent amount, but not by like a ton, I think. They also bought a bunch of teams in Europe which have dominated because of the oil money. Yeah, and again, like the reason they're doing this is so they can continue to control their international reputation. It's all being done as a PR scheme. There's no like organic, authentic, internal cultural engagement here. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't know much about Oman, Saigu.
That it is funny that he went so hard, right? I would have, I think, respected it more if he was just like, you know what, the money was real good.
Yeah, right.
I took that.
Like, Saudi Arabia is perfect.
I took that real good money. Instead, he was like, you know what? Because I did this, a lot of good things are going to happen. I'm not so sure that that's true.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I also would just be very afraid to go to Saudi Arabia and do a comedy routine, like for your own personal safety. So
my jokes would not work.
Yeah, he did.
Cool that Bill Burr's getting roasted from the right and the left for this.
He said he had to censor some of his routine, which is probably smart. And also interesting that Saudi Arabia has a comedy festival right now. Interesting turn of events there. I used to listen to Bill Burr's podcast all the time. Do you know him?
Really?
No, I don't.
I used to listen to him all the time. I've seen him at a couple comedy shows. Very funny. Has COVID definitely impacted his humor though. He's taken some interesting turns. The reason that we wanted to have you on is because it is October, which October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. My first
Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah. Should we congratulate you for that?
I think so. Okay. I mean, I feel like you can congratulate me for it. I mean, I knew obviously.
All right. One line of thought is this: I don't fucking know. It's just super disappointing from Bill Burr. It's the only guy I care about.
Guys, it's that special time of year. It's the Riyadh Comedy Festival. And all of your favorite comedians are performing at the pleasure of Turki Al-Sheikh. And he is the head of the entertainment authority over there. And he has so many people thrown in prison because they tweeted stuff he didn't like about the soccer team or whatever, that there's a wing of a prison nicknamed after him where they hang people by their heels from the ceiling. Now, there's a lot of drips, killjoys, and dweebazoids.
I think that arguments like this are the most pointed. I do think that like you should avoid supporting the interests of evil governments, but I think there's still the fundamental difference still to me remains like the intention of the setting. Because wouldn't it be so different if rather than the Saudi head of entertainment or whatever bringing all these comedians over, instead there was like a local independent civilian run like comedy center that reached out to some American comedians and was like, if you wanna, we'll pay for your travel. And you have to be careful on these topics because it's the law. Like, there's such a big difference between a civilian saying, you can't make fun of the royals because, versus the royals saying, you cannot make fun of me, by the way. Just to let you know, you can't. This is a government-sponsored program. You really shouldn't make fun of me while you're up there. Just a big, big difference,
Who are saying, they shouldn't do comedy over there because it's whitewashing a regime that just in June killed a journalist and killed Jamal Khashoggi and played a big role in 9/11. Shut up. Name one comedian who hasn't whored themselves out to a dictator. Sinbad in the 80s would go perform for dying Nazis hidden out in Argentina. Mr. Bean would do private shows for Idi Amin. Me and Bibi Netanyahu have collaborated. I pitched him a prank show called The West Bank, where it's hilarious. Like, people in masks show up and eject people from the...
All right. I get the bit. You see, ICE will be at the Super Bowl just because Bad Bunny's doing the halftime show. I think that's a perfect example of the difference with, like, legitimate versus illegitimate culture, MAGA is upset that Bad Bunny is doing the halftime show at the Super Bowl because he's Latin and anti-Trump. So the government the Trump regime is trying to still, like, impose power there by having, like, thugs, like brown shirts present to sort of suggest, their power there. But they don't control the Super Bowl. As powerful as the Trump administration is, this is something they're upset about and is happening to them. That's not the case in Saudi Arabia. Nothing in Saudi Arabia happens, like, in a way that upsets the royals, but they can't do anything about it, I'm surprised the NFL isn't backing down. Listen, even though the majority of NFL chuds you might hear of and about and so on are, like, thick-necked white dudes, there is a huge black and brown audience for this shit, okay? The NFL has obviously not been a consistent ally to the left in this country, but Bad Bunny is huge, massive, and, like, I don't know. If they turn the NFL into, like, an explicitly white nationalist organization, if they really kowtowed to the Trump administration and got rid of Bad Bunny for whatever bullshit reason, I think it would lead to some serious blowback. Literally never heard of Bad Bunny till this week. I could make fun of you, but it's not like I know much about it. Like, I want to make fun of you for being white, but, like, I'm also white. And when I heard Bad Bunny, I thought, wait, isn't that a Twitch streamer? Did she make it big? And then a friend had to explain to me, like, some context. That was about a year ago, too. So I'm not... Yeah, now Kira chats. Yeah, so for me, like, I can't really make fun of you. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Marin also making fun of the fest. I just think it sucks that, like, our image of stand-up comedians is one where they're these, like, really principled truth tellers, like the jesters who have jester's privilege in the king's court. And in reality, like, all of them are lowest bar, race to the bottom right-wing grifters, or at the very least totally unprincipled. Total like lack of principle here. A lot of them are just looking for that next paycheck. Like, really nothing else beyond that. Not all, but most. Yeah, I shouldn't say all. The only good one is Stavros. I saw Stavros over at the something theater in Seattle. He was great. And the opening act too. They were very, very good. I don't normally go to stand-up shows. It's actually pretty difficult to make me laugh, like, in person, I guess. And I'm having a good time over here on stream. I tend to stone face a lot of stuff that doesn't come from, like, a close friend. But he got me. He got me plenty. Also, he was wearing, like, a teal tracksuit the whole time, and it made him look like a bowling ball, which I thought was nice. Anyway, he didn't go to Saudi Arabia, so he's all right in my book. Trump's been feuding with the NFL since the 1980s. Wouldn't you expect that from, like, a theater kid?